Welcome to AI Today. This is your essential briefing on everything happening in artificial intelligence. Let's just dive right into the news, which, by the way, is made by AI.
All right, it is Friday, December 12th, 2025, and believe me, we have a ton to get through today. So, what's on the agenda?
First up, we're talking about a funding frenzy that's hitting the AI market. It is huge. Then we'll see what all that cash is actually building as OpenAI releases what they're calling a better thinker. And finally, we have to talk about the fallout. New warnings are popping up everywhere about risk and regulation. It's a lot, so let's get into it. Okay, first up, the AI gold rush. You know, if you really want to get a handle on where this technology is headed, you've got to follow the money. And right now, the money is just flooding into the AI revolution. So how much are we talking about? How about this number? $200 billion. That's the cumulative global investment in AI just for 2025. I mean, that is a staggering amount of cash. It tells you one thing very clearly. Investors are absolutely convinced that this is the next big thing.
And get this, it's not just a big number, it's the speed of the growth. Just look at this chart. Q3 of this year is up 40% over Q3 of last year. Remember that so-called venture capital winter everyone was talking about? Yeah, that's over. The floodgates are officially open, and pretty much all of that water is flowing straight to AI.
So, you might be wondering, what is all this money actually building? Well, this week, we got a pretty big answer. OpenAI just dropped its latest model, and it's called ChatGPT 5.2. And they're not just calling this a minor tweak. They're saying it's a whole new, smarter, better thinker. Okay, so there are really three things you need to know about this new version. First, it's supposed to think more clearly. You can give it a really complex, multi-step problem, and it can actually reason its way through it. Second, its memory is way bigger. We're talking near-perfect recall across hundreds of thousands of words. So you could feed it an entire book, and it won't forget what was in Chapter 1. And third, and this is a big one, it's more dependable. They're claiming a 30% reduction in those AI hallucinations, which, if true, makes it a much more serious tool for actual professional work.
And you know, the funny thing is, the community actually sniffed this out before the official announcement. Some really sharp users over on Reddit were just messing around with the chatbot, and it started identifying itself as GPT-5.2 thinking model, just like that, out of the blue. It just goes to show you nothing stays secret for long in this space.
Okay, so we have all this money and these incredibly powerful new tools, but, and there's always a but, right? This kind of light speed expansion comes with some serious growing pains. As the tech gets smarter, the rules, well, they're playing a frantic game of catch-up, and that's creating all kinds of friction.
Let's start with the really big question. Who owns knowledge? Seriously, this is causing a huge crisis in the scientific world. See, these AI models are gobbling up tons of public research papers to learn from. But here's the kicker. They're often doing it without asking permission, without paying anyone, and without giving credit. So it raises this massive, thorny question. Once an AI learns something, who actually owns that knowledge?
And if you're looking for a simple answer, well, good luck. There is zero global agreement on this. Just look at this table. It's all over the map. The US, they've kind of moved away from focusing on copyright. The UK, they're saying, show us your training data. The EU is all about transparency and risk. And China, they're focused on content control and security. It's a total patchwork, and nobody seems to agree on the right way forward.
And the problems don't stop at copyright. We're talking about serious security issues too. The research firm Gartner just dropped a bombshell recommendation this month. They're telling companies, and I quote, they must block AI browsers for now. Why? Because they're worried these new browsers could accidentally leak sensitive company secrets out into the wild. That's a huge deal.
We're also seeing governments starting to hit the brakes. Take France, for example. The country's top court just slammed the door on a plan to use AI-powered surveillance cameras at big sporting and cultural events. They basically said the law allowing it was pushed through improperly. This is a really clear signal that the move fast and break things approach is starting to meet some real resistance from regulators.
So, with all these big, scary risks floating around, how is this stuff actually getting used in the real world, especially in a field where the stakes couldn't be higher? Well, let's take a look at healthcare, which is kind of the perfect case study for all this.
You see, in healthcare, you've got this incredible tension between the promise and the reality. On one hand, the promise is just, wow, we're talking about AI agents that could manage your entire patient journey, discover new drugs faster than ever, and create treatments just for you. But then there's the reality. And at a recent summit, healthcare pros laid it out plain and simple. They said, look, any AI tool has to be proven to be better than what we have now. It has to be secure, and it has to actually work within our chaotic hospital systems. In other words, the hype is great, but they need to see the proof.
All right, that was a lot to cover. So let's wrap things up and boil it all down to the key takeaways from today's news. This is your Friday AI briefing.
So here's what you really need to know today. First, you have the engine, that $200 billion investment boom that's just fueling everything. Second, you have the tool. All that money is creating things like GPT-5.2, which are getting seriously powerful and way more reliable. Third, you have the friction. All this rapid progress is creating huge headaches around security, copyright, and regulation. And finally, you have the test. All of this gets put to the ultimate test in fields like healthcare, where AI has to prove it's not just cool, but actually valuable and safe. It's this cycle of money, tech, problems, and proof. That's the story of AI right now.
And that's the news for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here on Monday for more AI news made by AI.